So, ladies and gentlemen, Alyssa is about to come on in just another minute here. She's going to empower you to really step into your greatest possible health and absolutely own your wellness. Break down any kind of barriers or blocks that have been stopping you from achieving that. Before that, I want to talk to you about the sponsor message. If you are an entrepreneur, a high achiever, you want to get your message out to the world in a bigger way, you want to develop your platform, launch your podcast, come talk to me, send me a message on Facebook or an email, burnandlearnnow@gmail.com. Looking forward to talking to you. Next up is the iTunes review of the week, and this week it's going to be by, I believe it is Anthony A93. Let's see what Anthony A has to say. All right, so it's now up on the screen. Chris the Man Burns. Every podcast episode gets better and better. Not only that, you can tell how present and interested Chris is in each of the experts he brings on the show. Absolutely 100%. I love these people who I get to talk to and create magic with for you, the audience. And if you're listening or watching right now and you haven't yet subscribed to the podcast, go to beyourgps.com/iTunes or search Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self on the iTunes store, and you'll be able to find us like that. And subscribe. Let us know what you love about the show, what you want to see more of. Give it a rating and a review, and we appreciate you for doing that because it helps more people discover the show. Like I mentioned, Alyssa's about to come on in just a minute. Make sure you grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, be ready to take notes because she is constantly creating massive value videos on her Facebook, and I've seen them. And it's just like every bit of it is gold, and you're definitely going to want to stay through all the way till the end because you never know what one idea can transform the rest of your life. So let's introduce her, and then we will bring her on the screen, okay? So Allyssa LaScala is a holistic metabolic coach, personal trainer, Lyme Disease Warrior, and avid biohacker. She specializes in helping individuals biohack their bodies from the inside out to ultimately reach their health and weight loss goals. She takes pride in speaking the truth and bringing clarity to the health and wellness field that can be beyond overwhelming. And I totally get that. Alyssa, are you ready to rock the house, superstar?
I am.
Yes. Awesome. You're now live on Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. Thank you for being here. Thank you for empowering people to really step into their health and wellness because you're doing amazing work for the world. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored to be here. I know that you are probably one of the only people that I feel can match my energy on just like a split second. Like I just feel like we vibe so well together, yes. And I can't help but just eat up everything that you feed off. So I really am honored that you're going to have me on here because you only attract the best people to your show. So thank you so much.
That's right. Thank you, Alyssa. So we're going to dive right into the theme of today, which is your powerful platform. Tell us, Alyssa, how this has impacted you, your powerful platform. How has that concept made a difference for you?
So as far as my platform of biohacking, whether it is through supplementation, whether it's through nutrition, biohack your fitness, biohack your sleep, this was a big transformation in my own health journey. I got diagnosed about 8 years ago with Lyme disease, adrenal fatigue, and a bunch of other issues. And so I started to have to dig into this stuff to realize how I could get my body to function the way that it was created to, and how to break through all the fads and gimmicks, because this fitness, health, wellness world, there's so much hype and there's so much overwhelm, and to be able to create clarity, not just for myself, but for my followers, for my clients, that was my goal. So to be able to make one small change at a time, that's what I'm about. And it can take your health a complete 180 with just some of the smallest changes.
And that's what the biggest piece of wisdom I think most people are missing is they think it's going to take some extraordinary amount of Herculean effort, and it's going to take a really, really long time. And I think that results are compounded over time, and those decisions can be made in an instant, and small changes can transform people's lives really, really quickly if they stick with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. People don't realize that they are just 1, 2, 3 small tweaks away from having a completely different body, a completely different mindset. And we think it's these big elaborate things because that's what the industry is trying to teach you, right? But we don't realize it is just these small things that absolutely compound over time. And I'm here to help them do it.
I love it. I love it. So, how did you get this biohacking bombshell name? And I don't, before we go into the history, just tell us what that means and what is biohacking. What do you stand for with your clients?
Yeah, really good question. So biohacking is literally like there's a couple different ways that I'll explain it to somebody, but I look at it as making these small little changes, whether
Hmm.
it's in your nutrition, your fitness, your sleep, small changes to your lifestyle that create big results. And it's using
Mm,
your body's own science and enhancing your body's natural way of operating to be able to heal from the inside out. And that's
mm,
what brings health. That's what brings weight loss. And we never look at it that way. We don't look at healing from the inside out to bring weight loss. We
mm.
look at it backwards. And so that is ultimately, without getting too scientific, that's what it is. It's just healing your body from the inside out with these small changes.
That's amazing. I think so many people want the external result, and
Yes.
that's what a lot of the marketing is selling people on. Be thinner, that kind of thing. It's like the external image, and how we get there is typically we change things on the inside. And so you've really studied that, especially because of your journey that you've been on. I know you've overcome some serious challenges and trauma and things in your life that was difficult, illness and stuff. So let's go back into that and talk about how did you get through that? How did it come about? How did you find out? How did you process it, and how did you break through it yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's still an ongoing thing.
Mm,
We always want to look at healing as linear, and it's not.
mm,
It's just not for a lot of people. And so sometimes you think, what's wrong with me? Am I broken? Was this not the right diagnosis? And
mm,
so I really feel for anybody out there that they know something's wrong, but they don't know exactly what it is, because
mm,
that's where I was. I was actually in college when I found out I had Lyme disease. So I was in my junior year of college. I was 20 years old. It was in 2011. And I was really tired. I was sleeping constantly. And I just looked at it as, oh, I'm a type A personality. I'm working while I'm also going to school and I'm studying hard. And so I just looked at it as, hey, I'm trying to take these cat naps constantly. I'm staying up late studying. I'm getting up early to go to class,
yeah.
and I'm working on top of it until it was brought to my attention by the other couple of other ladies I was living with in my suite. And they said, Alyssa, I feel like you need to go get this checked. Like, go over break and get some blood tests done. And after they annoyed me enough with it, I finally did. They tested several different things, and I found out I had Lyme disease. And so a
Wow.
lot of my stuff has exacerbated from there. But that
Mm,
was when I first found out. It was 8 years ago. So
wow.
I did
Wow.
the first Western medicine approach, did the antibiotic route, and Western medicine absolutely has a place. But it wasn't until I went through that for about 3 years,
Mm,
not getting the results that I needed to heal, until I was like, you know what, maybe I need to look into this all natural stuff, quote
mm,
unquote, where people look
mm.
at it as like hippity dippity voodoo. Let's do herbs. And so that's what I thought at first too.
Yep.
And I was like, you know what? I don't have another choice. So sometimes we just have to look at what's our alternative. And
Mm.
my alternative was trying to biohack, and here I am.
So, how did you process the news when you first heard it? Was it a big deal? Was it a shock? Was it just like, oh, okay, I'll deal with it, kind of thing, or how did you process it?
I processed it the way that my doctors processed it to me, which was very nonchalant. It was, oh,
Mm,
by the way, you have Lyme disease. Oh, by the way, I said, okay, what do I do with that? They left me a voicemail telling me that.
mm,
And so I said, okay, well, I'm calling you back now. What am I supposed to do? And it's 3 weeks of antibiotics, 21 days of doxycycline. There you go. And I wasn't feeling better after the 3 weeks. So I said, what now? And it was this constant waiting game, and also trying to find the right health professional that was
mm,
willing to listen to me and look at
yeah.
different methods. So it was very nonchalant at first on their end, but I was worried on my end because I couldn't function in life and I needed to be able to heal. At 20 years old, I was way too tired and exhausted.
Mm, beautiful. So you started going the natural route because you felt like the antibiotics and the traditional medical route was not serving you. Like, was there a point where you made that decision, like this isn't working anymore, and to go the different route?
That's a really good question because I was in this purgatory for
Mm,
months. I had
mm,
gotten to the point where I said, do I just need to do more antibiotics? What am I missing?
yeah.
And so I started to talk to other people. What I can say is that once you figure out kind of what's going on with you, to get in a community of other people that are experiencing what you're going through, whether you're an entrepreneur and struggling in your
Yeah.
business and you want to strengthen that, whether it's in health and wellness, whether it's you're struggling in your marriage, getting around other people that are going through something similar as you're going to be able to see, well, what solutions did they try? What did they implement?
Mm,
What worked and didn't work? And so I started to talk to other people with Lyme, and I found out about this holistic MD. And at first it was the finances that held me back because, of
mm,
course, when you're trying to find a solution, one of the biggest obstacles is money. and
Yeah.
being able to afford it. And I got to the point where I said, I'm going to need to just finance it on a credit card, because if it wasn't for that, I wasn't going to be able to live my life anymore.
Mm.
Sometimes you get to that rock bottom, and that's where I was. So when I hit rock bottom, I decided I needed to put another foot forward and make a decision.
Yeah, and I think it's that when your back is against the wall, when you're like just so frustrated, you're done with it, you've experienced so much pain, it's like that breaking point where you say no more, you make that decision and you're willing to do whatever it takes, and it sucks that I think a lot of people have to get to that point of suffering for so long or so much pain to where they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and then they change their mind. But I think it's through the power of stories like yours and what we're going to be sharing about today that people can become aware that something is not going how they want it to and be able to make a better decision because they're hearing that there's better solutions out there for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. So you went the holistic route. What did you learn? What did you notice when you first started investing yourself and your time and your energy and money in that path?
Number one, I learned that you have to be patient, and it's so hard because we all want immediate results. It's just how we're wired as humans. It's the same with
Yep.
weight loss. I wasn't looking to lose weight. I was trying to heal
Yeah.
at that point. And I wanted to get my energy back. I wanted to get my brain back, my focus back. Having brain fog is one of the worst things to experience, especially as a business owner.
Yeah.
And so I got to that point where I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to have to accept that I didn't accrue all of this stress and all of the disease and the damage. I didn't accrue all this in 30 days. It's not happening in 30 days either when it comes to my healing. So that was the first thing I had to come to terms with. And then I learned how to be super self-aware and really audit where I was at. And so I think that's one of the superpowers that I've started to now have and to teach to my clients, because when you become self-aware, that's when you can begin to implement a lot of the changes on your own, and it can happen a lot faster and in a cheaper way once you learn to become your own advocate versus always relying on somebody else.
What were the particular things you started becoming self-aware about? What did you notice?
How my body was working with certain foods. That was a big thing for me, because people don't realize that even though some foods are healthy, quote unquote healthy, it may not necessarily work well with your body. I found out I had many different food sensitivities, actually 56 of them. And so you don't have to have some anaphylactic shock reaction to realize that something isn't working well with your body, or that a certain type of workout isn't vibing well with your body. So looking at how I feel after I have certain foods, or after I do certain workouts, or after hanging around certain people, and seeing that certain people are energy vampires, I realized I needed to become aware of all this stuff to start to heal myself. And this was a regular basis thing that I needed to be aware of.
Yeah. Wow. That's so powerful. And when you have the awareness, when you notice, hey, this isn't working how I want it to, I'm not feeling good, I'm not feeling empowered, I'm not feeling like clear, I don't have the clarity, I don't have the energy. It's like so many people, they're getting bombarded with the symptoms, but they, mask it, they numb, they do other things to avoid actually dealing with the reality. What do you say to someone who is, I don't want to say it's in denial about it, but just isn't paying attention to those things?
I feel as though sometimes you get to the point where, like I said, most people have to hit rock bottom before they end up making a change. So they will eventually get to that point. Everybody does eventually get to that point. Now, all that damage is accruing as you're getting to that point. But once you get to the point where you are just so in pain, you are miserable, you are not operable, everything in your life is suffering because there's a snowball effect, you realize there is no alternative. But sometimes it's just you don't know what you don't know. You ever heard that phrase before? It's like you have to forgive yourself for what you didn't know before you learned it. And so many times in this field, there's so much information out there that we can start to kick ourselves in the butt and be like, how did I not know this? Why did I not think of the fact that certain foods, how did I know that gluten, just because you don't have celiac doesn't mean that you wouldn't have an issue with that, or just because you don't have Crohn's doesn't mean you couldn't have stomach issues. So forgiving yourself for that and getting around other people that have that knowledge so they can teach you the things you don't even know exist. So, but when you get to that point, and so my goal is to be able to help people get to that point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. As far as, a disciplined education regime, so to speak, how often should people be tuning into a source like yours and being educated on it? Because we have so many different areas of life and so many things that we're juggling. How do we know how, are we supposed to spend hours and hours a day on this? Or, what would you say is like a healthy balance, and for what type of person kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. So I love following this one doctor, Dr. Tom O'Brien. He started out in chiropractic, does a lot with autoimmune things. He wrote the book called The Autoimmune Fix, and that was a big game changer for me because he addresses a lot of things that most Western medicine doctors don't even know of yet. And I was listening to one of his podcasts. He was a guest on someone else's biohacking podcast,
Awesome.
talking about how it is so overwhelming to feel like you want to learn everything, but you have a family to take care of. You have yourself to take care of. You have a job. You have other responsibilities. We don't have all day, every day to be consuming all this content. So how you know what is enough? And so he had made the advice or given the piece of advice that I like to follow, where if you can just dedicate an hour a week, you can do so much with that.
Yeah.
So much with that. Just an hour a week. Pick on Sunday. It's just an hour. Pick a podcast, plan it out, what you're going to listen to, tap into one of my Facebook Lives, and you'll start to be able to know what at least the best practices are. And maybe you get more comfortable with it where you figure out different ways to be able to weave it into your life. Most of us commute to work. What could you be listening to on a podcast or on YouTube on the way to work? We don't think about these little things that we have, these openings in our day, that we just don't take advantage of them. And with podcasts like yours and a lot of other resources out there, it's very easy to fill it in. You could be shopping at Target. You could be running errands. So find those little things in those little time frames that you can squeeze that in, but try to do an hour a week.
That's beautiful. It's like the micro learning, you might have 15, 20 minutes, whatever it might be. You're doing these chores, just choose to pick up these different sources of information at that time. And I think in the terms of prioritization, we talked about rock bottom. Some people might need to hit rock bottom before they make it a priority to invest in their health and their time and their energy. What else is possible when people really get this right, when they start biohacking, when they start making these better choices and getting more educated? What kind of transformations have you seen working with your clients and in your communities? Tell us a little bit more about that.
So, I've had... I'm going to just say I make no medical claims. I do not cure, treat, prevent any disease. I think that's extremely important. It is amazing what happens when you know how to heal the body. It is amazing what happens. And I do believe that our higher power, I believe in God, whatever everybody else believes in. I truly believe that he created so that for the majority of the time, we can heal ourselves. Is there a place for Western medicine, surgeries, medications? Absolutely. My husband is a type 1 diabetic. If he didn't have insulin, he would not be alive. His pancreas doesn't work that way. So I understand that there's a reason that you have to have some of those things. But when you are able to heal the body, not only are you going to have more energy, can you reduce bloat, can you balance hormones, you're going to get better sleep. There are people that have been able to come off of medications. I have women that weren't able to get pregnant before. That they weren't able to get pregnant without going to a fertility doctor. And even then it was difficult because when you learn to balance the gut, the microbiome, and just take advantage of all of these natural ways that your body's able to function on its own. But because of all the stressors in life, Chris, honestly, our bodies just can't keep up with how society and our environment is transforming. Think about it. Right now, we're talking over the internet. I have Wi-Fi shooting through me. You can't walk anywhere without having 4G, 5G shooting through you. There's towers going up all over the place, GMOs and all these other foods. And so it's no wonder. Time has evolved faster than our bodies can keep up. So you just function so much better. And so I say to people, think about how much better you can perform at your job and maybe that promotion you've been looking to get and how you're able to execute at work and at home and every other aspect of your life. That's what we're looking for. Most people aren't looking just for the inches and the pounds to be lost. It's what comes from that. It's having a happier level or happier existence in life and having the confidence you need to have an intimate relationship with your spouse. It's so much more than just losing inches or pounds.
Beautiful. So Allyssa, someone listening right now, they love what is possible for them. They see like, hey, I want more energy. I want to be more successful in my business, have a better love life, whatever it is, be more peaceful. And they say, okay, Allyssa, you're awesome. What would be their next step? Like, how do you invite them in and so they can start using your services and like get a baseline, so to speak, of where they're at and then where they want to go?
Absolutely. I actually offer free 20-minute consultations because every person is different. There is no black and white, like you start here and you have to start there. There is no like map that you just follow. We are so on an individual basis. Everyone's budget is different. Everyone's time availability is different. So I will talk to somebody for 20 minutes on, a Zoom chat. I like to do video conferencing because this is such a personal journey. I listen to where they're at. what their biggest challenge is, what their goal is. And according to that, I point them in the direction that's going to be best for them. Maybe I'm not their best solution. So my goal is to always be a connector. I want to leave each and every person better off than when I found them, whether that's with me and my services or somebody else or another direction. And so that's my goal. I need to hear what your pain is before I can give you the proper solution. And I think that's what a lot of health and wellness professionals out there don't do at this point. It's just so cookie cutter, and you have to listen to people and where they're at before you can tell them this is what your solution is. So we start with a free 20-minute consult.
Beautiful. So it's pretty easy to get a hold of you and get that scheduled. And I'm sure we're going to tell them how they can do that at the end. So everyone who's listening, make sure you stick around to the end so Allyssa can tell you how you can continue the journey with her, get more info, have a call with her, all that good stuff. And as far as, setting yourself apart, I know that's a big thing in our industry, in our world of social media right now. There's a lot of people wanting to get their message out there and change the world. What would you say is it that really makes you stand out from the other people around you? Not that we want to compete or put other people down, but just in terms of what you feel sets you apart and magnetizes you to the right people. What would you say that is?
Absolutely. And I love that you say, not that we're really trying to compete, because honestly, Chris, there's enough business for everybody. Totally. There's enough business to go around. So there's no reason that you have to be clawing at somebody's neck to be able to have a client. I only want to work with people that do also want to work with me. And if I'm not a fit, that's okay. That's absolutely okay. I'm not emotionally attached to anyone's decision of whether they want to move forward with me or not. I would say one of the biggest things that sets me apart is the fact that I've been through so much. Now I'm at the age of 28. But I've been through a lot of the health challenges that many people don't even go through until they're like 50 or 60 because of the fatigue that I've gone through and having to, quit a lot of my jobs and completely work from home. And so I have, humbly, I say I have a lot of wisdom through my own health experiences that I'm able to relate with many people on a lot of different levels, and that I'm willing to listen to somebody and where they're at and be completely okay with not necessarily being the greatest fit for everybody, and being completely fine with pointing them in a direction of a place that may be a good fit for them. So I think it's just being open and honest and transparent, and not just, you have to look at every person individually and being able to address stuff on a cellular level. Most people don't know about biohacking. Most people don't understand that it matters which carbs and fats and proteins that you have at what time of day versus, hey, let's just count calories in MyFitnessPal or Spark People, and calories in versus calories out is the way to go. And it's so much deeper than that. And you have to know how to address those things on an individual level.
Is there any other big principles that you see at work that you would want our audience to know about health and wellness, as far as, foundational, fundamental things that they really need to be doing?
You need to be working with somebody, or at least be willing to work on your own with the weight loss mindset or the health and wellness mindset. This is a big thing. I actually was just having a conversation with a new client of mine that we're going to be getting started this week. He spent $35,000 at this weight loss facility. Wow. And he was only there for like 8 weeks. Right. And I'm like, wow, 35 grand. 35 grand, but they do everything for you. They pay for your hotel. It's your food. They tell you exactly what to eat, when to eat it. You're training 5 to 6 hours a day. And I said, did they address the mindset with you? And he said, Allyssa, that was the biggest thing that I wanted. And I knew when I went home, I was going to need that. And he's now home, and he's afraid he's not going to be able to continue implementing what he learned there, because life gets in the way. And there's a reason why it wasn't working before. So that's one of the biggest things that I need people to understand, is that we look at nutrition, we look at fitness, we look at accountability and support. But if you're not looking at your mindset and your subconscious body, the rest of it doesn't matter, because you won't implement it anyway. So I really implore anybody that's listening right now that if you don't know what that weight loss mindset is, you don't know what triggers your emotional eating, you don't know what makes you not motivated, you can't figure out why you can't stay consistent. That's a big thing that I address with many of my clients, and it needs to be talked about more by health professionals.
Is there anything else that's you see going on that isn't being addressed in the industry that like frustrates you, or you wish that everyone had this information?
That nutrition is a huge part of the battle. After mindset, it's nutrition, and we look at it backwards, right? It's the boot camps, it's the workouts, it's the programs, it's the at-home DVDs. And I'm like, you cannot out-train a poor diet. So if somebody has to pick between going and doing their meal prep for the week or going to the gym, I say skip the gym, go grocery shopping, and get your meal prep done, because you will not outwork that diet. And that needs to be focused on.
Wow, that's powerful. Shifting gears, I know that your dad is a really important person to you. We were talking about that recently. I'm curious, what is it? What's your favorite way to express love in the world with the people around you, or what you do in your profession?
So in regards to, does that tie into like my dad, or you're just talking about how he was an inspiration for me?
Yeah, how he is an inspiration to you. I know your family is important to you, so I just wanted to tie it in.
Yeah. So for those of you guys that don't know my story, my dad was a big inspiration for the reason why I was into health and wellness, because when I was 8 years old, he got diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So he is now, going on 20 years of surviving with cancer. And so that was a big deal to me to realize that even though my dad was working out like crazy, he wasn't eating very well. And so you think about all these other stressors that happen in your life, that you can have a physically healthy looking body and not realize that if you're not addressing those other factors. He was 33 when he got diagnosed with cancer. So you have to look at all these other issues. And so I realized that I wanted to be able to help other people figure out how they could biohack their bodies, how they would be able to get to the point where maybe they could prolong that type of stuff happening to them. But my dad taught me the different ways as he was going through and trying to figure out the other stuff he needed to do to heal. I started to learn the importance of nutrition and all the other factors in the healing process. So yes, he was an absolute big motivator for me in that. And he brought in the spiritual end, which I don't push that on anybody, but it is a big part of my life. Yes.
Man, I swear the faith, the energy, the aspect of faith, the characteristic of it is just, it can move mountains. People who don't have faith of something bigger than them, working through us, supporting us. I feel like life is so much more difficult because we feel like we're on our own,
I don't know how people do it. I don't know how you get through life without knowing that there's a higher power for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just my 2 cents on that.
I love it. I love it. And I think it's really important for us as entrepreneurs, influencers, people who are getting our message out, to share that, because there's a perfect person for everyone, and it's like we get to be proud of our beliefs and our stand for our beliefs, and what really works for us is what magnetizes the perfect people to us. I think it's important to own that. And I'm curious, in terms of being joyful. Joyful is a big value of mine. Like, I really love being joyful. What brings you joy, and what are you doing this year to bring yourself even more joy?
Oh, teaching. And I know it sounds
Yes.
so like blah to some people, like they're like, teaching, like see, that brings you joy. But oh my gosh, the value, how much my heart is filled. Like my love tank is
Yeah.
literally filled every time I do a Facebook Live or a training and I
Wow.
see someone comment, or I have someone message me or send me a voice memo saying, I didn't know this. Wow, it changed my life. I had no
Mm,
idea. I can't believe you brought that up. I would have never known that. Like, to
mm,
know that something that you say is directly changing someone's life and they can go share it with them, their friends, their family, whatever, just it's pure value. Like, I just feel like a vessel.
yeah.
Feel like a vessel that God is literally preaching through me to other people, and that I help them live a better and healthier life. And that could help their marriage. That could help
Yeah.
them be a better mom or dad, or it's the snowball effect. And
Mm,
so teaching to other people, I can be so tired, Chris, and then I can go on and do a
yeah.
Facebook Live
Yep.
on, I did one on chocolate yesterday morning, how to pick the dark chocolate, how to pick the right type of dark chocolate to cut your cravings. And people loved it. And
Wow.
3 minutes in the grocery store on chocolate. So anytime I'm teaching, my heart sings.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Did you ever have a time where it was difficult for you to put the focus on other people versus like being concerned about yourself, like in the beginning of creating content and getting your message out there?
Yeah, at first, because sometimes you have people that aren't so receptive or grateful.
Yeah.
And so you always have people have everything else going on in life, right? And so
Yeah.
somebody can snap at you or make a mean comment on Instagram or Facebook or block you for whatever reason. And you never know what someone went through that day before they
Yeah.
got to you, before they got to your video, before
Mm,
they heard your message. And so I always have to think, I love the saying, hurt people,
mm,
because it puts things into perspective. When somebody says something mean to you or nasty to you or doesn't respond the way that you want, it is not about you. It's
mm,
completely about them and something they've experienced or something that happened in the day. And so I had to learn not to take things personally. And so that was at that point in my business when I was taking things very personally, because your business is your baby and your coachings and your trainings are your baby. It was very hard for me to not respond in the way that I wanted to, but I needed to respect my own energy and sanity. So
yeah, that's so powerful. Is there any big books or resources that have made a big difference for you along your journey?
Personal development, besides just the health and wellness stuff,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, personal development, listening to, you have the big gurus like Tony Robbins, Eric Thomas. I love him because I swear the fact that he is real and he swears, I just like it.
He's got so much energy.
Yeah, exactly. Gary Vaynerchuk, just people like that, even though he's mostly about business, anybody that has the no BS mindset, I like that and have a lot of influence on me because it's helped me be able to formulate my message for other people, because sometimes you need to tell people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. And I think too many people, for lack of better words, pussyfoot around what needs to be said, and they're beating around the bush. And too many people out there they need to be told transparently, listen, this is what you need to do to change your health or you're going to die. Or this is the stuff that you need to do. And I'm not going to be the one that's going to spoon feed you. I will be here to love on you, but you need to be told the truth because this is reality. And so just a lot of people out there that just have great channels, podcasts. I listen to yours, and you are just anyone that's feeding you good motivational stuff. Yeah. I love it. I love that anyone that's trying to bring positivity, because you transform that mindset into your health and wellness.
That's so powerful. I love it. And I think that when we invest in those sources and we keep listening to them, it changes how we see the world. I'm sure that's happened for you, over the last couple of years when you came upon this disease. You're like, well, that sucks, and this life is difficult, blah. I threw temper tantrums like crazy when I was first starting my journey, because I'm like, this is so overwhelming, it's too difficult. And then I just started focusing on what I'm grateful for and what I do have. And I think that's a big part of handling disease as well, is like focusing on what is going well, gratitude and those positive emotions. Have you experienced a big benefit doing those kinds of things, the mindset work, the gratitude, journaling habits, that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. You have to.
Yeah.
You absolutely have to, Chris, because, and even if you don't have diseases, like some people may just feel like you're going on a diet and you're like, I have to eat this. I can't believe I have to eat asparagus and chicken and green beans. And I want a cupcake. Like, I get it. And no matter whether you're skinny or you're fat or you're healthy or you're unhealthy, most of us just like cupcakes or chocolate, or everybody has their vice, right? Yeah. And so you have to get to that point where, and this is why I love working on the mindset stuff. It's not, I have to, it's, I get to. Yep. And sometimes you have to sit there, have that checkup from the neck up and be like, there are people in other countries that don't even have clean water. There are people in other countries that can't even afford food tonight, are going to bed hungry. And I'm sitting here complaining that I have to eat this other healthier food. Shame on me. And so sometimes it's this 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. It doesn't mean it's not challenging, but you have to remember, like, you do not have it that bad. There are people living on the streets that don't have food. You have food in front of you, honey. Let's be realistic here. And these are the types of conversations that we have with people, because we all go through it. We're all human, but it's the same when you're starting a business. As an entrepreneur, you're like, I've been working on this for 15 hours a day and no one appreciates it. And then you have, I know that Gary Vaynerchuk was in my ear the one day in the beginning saying, you chose this life. Yeah. Just remember, you chose to do this. You could go get a job if you wanted. That's right. Choosing to build your business. So it works with any type of, sacrifice you have in life. There's always a sacrifice.
Yeah. Always. Yeah. Yeah, it's like there's a cost to everything, It's like you can choose to invest your time and energy and get like super successful with your health, and if you neglect your relationship, then that's going to go out of balance. The cost is the benefit is the health, the cost might be the relationships, and vice versa. Some people might be all about having fun and partying in the moment, living in the moment, but then the cost is their health. And it's like we really get to be the balance and awareness. I love how you started off with awareness as such a important part of the journey, because without the awareness of how am I showing up right now, how am I feeling, who am I being right now, that's creating my present circumstances, without getting to the root cause of it, then nothing can be done.
Exactly.
Yeah. So powerful. As far as the vision for Biohacking Bombshell, what's the big vision for that and for the movement that you're creating?
My vision is constantly transforming. And so you can ask me this question next week and it could be something totally different. Because that's what I love is, I tell people to be self-aware of their bodies, and I'm very aware of my business and I audit it constantly. And the more people you work with, the more challenges you come across, the more just different health circumstances that people are in, you realize there are other things you want to add into your business, other things you want to offer, different services, things you want to teach people, and you see where the system's broken. And so, at first when I started my business, I was like, I want to have, 100 people in my, group coaching platform. And I just want to tell them how to eat healthy and how to work out. And now I've gotten to the point where, then I'm doing customized coaching. And I'm just now at that point where I want to be able to do group coaching and ultimately have, 5,000 people as far as my biohacking tribe that understand that this is the way that they can get to their health and wellness goal through biohacking and doing it the right way. But Chris, it's just going to change. I know it is. Right now, my focus on what I want to do is always, so I have a long-term, but the short-term goal of now I'm doing a 7-day reset. I want to get as many people as possible in there for a completely different reason. Yeah. And so it's a loaded question. That's for sure.
I love it. And I think that's, as we discover who we are and what we stand for, we're able to clearly articulate that. That's one of the biggest, I think, hurdles of entrepreneurship, because there's so much like dynamism. It's always changing, always evolving. And I think the best entrepreneurs just get comfortable with that constantly changing, constantly evolving process,
Absolutely. Well, because you get to that point where you're like, I finally figured it out. Right? It's almost like I don't even have kids yet, but it's like people in parenting, like, oh, you finally figured it out. And then your kid, has a car and, they have their license and life is totally different. Or, you have another kid and life changes. And so we always want to have this set plan and it's like, cool, we're coasting the rest of the way. And it never happens. And so you have to just get comfortable with being uncomfortable and knowing that we are always changing and that's okay. And I'm so type A, so I love to have my plan. And I'm like, I can have a plan, but I just have to be flexible with my methods.
Yeah, 100%. What was something about, the initial coaches and mentors and leaders who you looked up to? What were the qualities that they exemplified that really inspired you? Like what values really resonated with you early on in your journey?
Getting out of the victim mentality first, because it's so easy, no matter where you're at in life. Getting out of the victim mentality, realizing that you have to get into that victor mentality. Yes. And honestly, again, I'm going back to the faith. My mentors are very much all faith-based, and I didn't do it intentionally. I just realized that was the way that I wanted to lead myself, and that if I'm going through and trying to conquer a goal this big, I can't do it alone. You have to do it with your higher power. And so again, I don't know as much as your audience, what they really vibe with but that's just where I'm at. And so I realized that I wanted to have a coach that had a mindset similar to mine. And so whether someone's a believer, whether they're not, no matter what they believe in, I think to align with other people that have the same beliefs as you, it's so important. And you can't be the smartest person in the room, or you're in the wrong room. You can absolutely be there, and doesn't mean that you can't coach other people, because a lot of times when people are working beneath you or you have clients, that you tend to be the smartest one there because they want to learn from you. Right. But then you have to make sure that you are in another room at another point in your day, in your week, in your month, to be able to learn and grow, because you will cap at that ceiling if you don't get around people that have more knowledge than you.
Yeah, it's so powerful. It's like if we isolate ourselves, I think it's so easy to do that in our today's day and age. It's so easy to feel connected, so to speak, or think we're connected with social media, but are we actually having conversations that move the needle? And I'm sure you've surrounded yourself with people who like are constantly asking more of you than you even know how to give, but because they say it's possible and they're speaking life into you, and you're tapping into your faith and the power of God, like that's also having you thrive and rise and keep showing up.
Yeah, absolutely. It fuels my fire.
I love it. So awesome. Okay, cool. And as far as what other mistakes that people might be making in their health and wellness, can you educate us and enlighten us on some other mistakes that we might be making and how to avoid those?
Yeah, so some of the really simple ones, and you can let me know how in depth you want me to get into this. Hands down, if people are not getting enough sleep, that's throwing off everything. And I can beat people over the head with this, but trust me, guys, I get it. We only have so many hours in the day. And so it seems like we want to get more done. Where are you going to find it? You cut out sleep. Some people do well with 5 or 6 hours. I know someone that functions amazing off of 3.
Wow.
He kills it and he has great health. It doesn't matter, but he functions great off of 3. And if he sleeps more than that, he's more tired. So there is no cut and dry. You have to sleep 8 hours. There's actually a doctor called the sleep doctor, Michael. I forgot how to pronounce his last name, but I took his one quiz figuring out, what was my sleep animal. And I offered it to, it's a free quiz. I offered it to some of my viewers last year when I heard him speak at a conference, and figuring out, are you someone that needs 5 or 6 hours of sleep? Are you a good power napper? When should you be having caffeine? It all depends on your sleep personality, right? So getting the right type of sleep for your body, and then also making sure that you're getting enough water in there. I mean, at least half your body weight in fluid ounces. Most people do not do that. And on top of that, just making sure that you're not just counting calories, counting macros, counting points, say Weight Watchers or something like that. It typically only gets somebody so far. It doesn't mean it doesn't work for you. It does work to a certain extent. But when you're trying to work on a cellular level, you're trying to balance hormones, and you're trying to break through that last several 10, 20, whatever pounds, and you're in a weight loss plateau, those little biohacking changes matter. So don't underestimate the little changes after you make the big ones.
Good. That's a great one. So sleep is a really big, something that people look over or they make assumptions about it. What are some other areas that you think are important for our audience to know?
The water intake, absolutely. Like I said, making sure that you're getting the right type of nutrients in. You're not just counting calories, because it doesn't mean you're covering carb, fat, and protein correctly. And don't be afraid to also supplement. It's a big thing that I know. I was very like anti-supplement early on. And then I was like overly realizing I was supplementing everything. And then I found this balance, right? And I think it's because people are duped so much in this health and wellness industry that every time you turn on the TV or you pass a billboard or you walk into GNC, Vitamin Shop, Rite Aid, there's supplements everywhere. And some work and some don't. And the thing that's hard is there's no FDA regulation for them. So you have to just trust what's on the label, and you have to know how to navigate your way through. So they are a great resource for people, and I use them daily. And there are ones that I recommend to people, but you can easily be duped if you don't know what you're looking for. So I don't want people to be afraid of it, but you do not have to know how to navigate your way through that. So it's another big thing I want to tell people. If they're trying to get the edge with their health and wellness, you can absolutely do that through certain types of supplements that you can't even get through food. It's incredible science how it comes anymore, but you have to know what you're looking for.
Yeah, and there's so many out there. Like, is it just research? Was that where you would say to start, or do people need to get them like their blood tested to really know what they are missing out on, or how do people really take that journey?
Well, there's all different ways to do it. If you get a blood test done, like you just said, and somebody finds out I'm low in vitamin D, it's a really, really common one, right? Well, there are different forms of vitamin D. And do you know that you still have to have sunlight exposure to be able to get specific types of vitamin D transformed into your body that you can't get without sunlight? So then you look at light hacking. And there's all these different things out there, but there's a million types of vitamin C on the market. What's the right type to get? You have to know what you're looking for, whether that's through doing your own research, or some people are like, yeah, Alyssa, that would be great for me to research. I don't have the time for that. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to also be a concierge with some of this type of stuff. So I've done free trainings, webinars, people ask me questions and whatnot. But a lot of times it's finding somebody that you trust to be able to give you recommendations, because you yourself don't have the time to find the right one. So you can either look through blood tests to get done, or a lot of times just having a conversation with somebody through a free consult. I can tell what they're lacking in, just the specific symptoms that they're experiencing.
What other mistakes might people make when using Dr. Google to like research and figure out what they need to do?
Oh my gosh, I literally just had this conversation with one of my girls the other day, because you type into Google and WebMD will tell you are dying when you're not. So it's really hard, because I've done it before too. I mean, you type in fatigue from Lyme disease, that's what I did at first. Oh, I'm tired, or I'm itchy, or whatever. And it's like, you could have Lyme disease, you could have fibromyalgia, you could have the flu, you could have so many things.
Oh my goodness.
You could be getting paralyzed. Like, you just don't know. So just find a professional that you trust. And I really suggest trying to reach out to somebody that has a holistic mindset. Some doctors will be that way. Some medical doctors are that way, Chris, but many are not, because people don't realize it takes an average of 17 years for the time that a study is done till it's put into Western medicine practice. So you could be looking up and even finding studies on your own of things that are absolutely valid, but your doctor isn't even going to acknowledge them because they were taught, how many years ago when they were in school, like that wasn't even a thing. So they don't even know it exists. So you have to be your best own advocate and then be open to a doctor that's willing to listen to you and isn't so, for lack of better words, stuck up in their own ways of what they learned 10, 20 years ago in school, that they're not willing to listen to what could be going on right now.
So good. As far as getting yourself, activating your power and awakening your power and, being present in the moment and giving your best every day, what would you say helps you do that? Is there any kind of habits or things that you do, routines, rituals that get you into an empowered state?
Sleep is a big
yes.
for me. I'm telling you, I'm just saying, like, you ask my husband, you wake me up even during a nap, I will bite your head off. My sleep, do not mess with me, guys. I sleep with earplugs in because my husband snores and so do my dogs. Yep. And I actually, within the last 2 years, I started sleeping with a sleep mask on. And I used to laugh at people for that. But I realized that once the sun was coming up or like a light is on in the room or my husband wants to watch TV for another hour while we're in bed, I need to fall asleep. Yeah. So biohacking your sleep is like the best thing that you could do. Do I have rituals when I wake up in the morning? I try and listen to either like a sermon or some type of podcast or whatnot within the first couple of hours that I'm awake, but my schedule is always different. So I just try and make it a priority that at some point throughout the day, I have 15 minutes of personal development, whether it's a podcast or, whatever it may be. And I read my devotional, I tap into God, I pray, but I don't have a set time that I meditate. I don't have a set time that I do everything, because honestly, with my health, sometimes if my health is feeling variable or my schedule is variable, my ritual will be variable. So I have to be flexible with that too.
That's good. I love how the one thing that's constant that I keep hearing is your faith. As long as there is that one thing that you can like count on, that's always there, and to give you that strength, to give you that power. Sounds like faith is really that cornerstone for you, making the difference in your life. So it's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely, really cool. Absolutely.
If you had one week left to live and you had as much money as you wanted in the world, what would you do? Where would you go? Who would you be with? What would you do?
Oh, that's really hard. Holy crap. This was not a question that you told me about ahead of time. This is not something I had time to think on, because this is one of those things where I don't think you can make a split decision. We need to be smart about this type of stuff, because you have those types of resources. I honestly would like to be in one of the most peaceful places for me, which would be on probably like a beach that's about 70 degrees. I don't like being too hot, being too cold.
Amen.
And being able to fly as many people as possible, as many of my clients as possible into the same area as me, and celebrate together and teach together and just be in that loving community. Honestly, that's the best way that I could do it. It's just surrounding myself with the greatest people and doing what I love and being able to pay the way for as many people as possible to me. I feel like that's my best split answer decision.
That's awesome. It's great. I love it. I hear and see like a festival, like a biohacking festival that just people come and they get all the information that they need, to amplify their wellness. They have assessments, they have, blood tests, they have, it's like everything is like the top-notch quality, highest standards and stuff like that. But they just come in there and they get educated at the highest level, and they walk out with like a plan. They walk out with more awareness. They walk out, transformed in their health and wellness.
Heck yeah. Sounds good to me.
That's awesome. That's super cool. That's awesome. Okay. So we talked about, some frustrations that people might be having in their health and wellness. We talked about the things that really made a difference for you along your journey with personal development, with faith. Is there any other people who really made a big difference for you, inspired you to be who you are today besides your dad, or was he like the big one that made the difference?
My dad and my mom have always been so incredibly supportive of me.
Yeah.
Even though sometimes they're like, hey, it may be risky, but they're supportive of me. So,
Yeah.
I started in a network marketing company about 6 months out of college. I found a great supplement company I had loved to work with because I wanted to create my own side hustle. They were very supportive of me doing that, even though people can say, oh, it's a pyramid scheme. It didn't matter. They supported me. When it came to me wanting to be able to weasel my way down from working 3 to 4 jobs at a time to
Wow.
just 2 to 1 and then completely working for myself from home.
Yeah.
They were very supportive. Was it risky to not have the 9 to 5 job with the corporate benefits? Yes, but they've always been so supportive. So both my mom and my dad have both been huge influencers on me and still absolutely continue to be to this day. My dad just had the biggest influence on me when it came to my spirituality in everything. So clearly that played a big role for me. My mom wasn't raised as spiritually. So that was why, she still does believe in God, but it was my dad that was more dug in there. So that's why he had more an effect on me in that way.
Yeah.
But honestly, just making sure that no matter what I was going through, I was pushing through it. Seeing my dad go through all the struggles that honestly, I'm telling you, Chris, he's been battling cancer for 20 years. And just because he's still alive, it doesn't mean that his quality of life is always great. I mean, he was just in the hospital a couple of weeks ago. I know I shared that with you, some of the stuff that he was going through. And so to be able to see how he is so persevering and to be able to take your pain and channel it into purpose and be transparent about whatever you are going through. I used to look up every time I was struggling and I would say, God, why me? Like, seriously, I am 20 years old and I literally feel like I'm living the life of like my dad going through 20 years of cancer treatments. Like, why am I going through this? And now I just can't help but look at it and be like, you know what? God thinks that I'm special enough to go through this because he knows I'm going to share my message.
Yeah.
That's why I'm going through this. And so that's been the biggest influence, is being able to see how my dad has dealt with some of these health challenges of his. And hopefully I can inspire other people to be their own health advocate and to share their challenges, because we are not transparent and vulnerable enough because we're afraid of being judged. We're living on social media. We're posting the highlight reel and none of the bloopers of our life. And so that's been a big inspiration for me, and I hope other people can do the same.
Yeah. Did you make a decision at one point along your journey that you knew you were meant to share this message? I can't remember if you said that earlier, if that was like a decision or, like if it came through faith or how it happened.
I feel like once I started to get feedback from other people, once I shared my stuff with my Lyme disease, so it was definitely after I was, 20 years old, I've always been a transparent person, but to do it publicly and share my stories constantly on Facebook Live and other, forms of video, and seeing the feedback and having messages from other people saying, I'm so glad you shared that because I thought I was the only one. I was like, it's kind of like, and I use this example in a training that I did the other day. It's kind of like, think of your favorite song. Think of your favorite song that either like pumps you up or really comforted you in the loss of a loved one or in a breakup. And it's like, wow, I can't believe that those lyrics are exactly how I feel. And it's like those people, they knew you, that artist knew you. Like, how did they know exactly what you were going through? And you couldn't put it into words how you were feeling, but they did. And so I said to my group the other day, I'm like, what if that song that you can think of right now, what if that artist never wrote it? What if you would have never had somebody on the other end of that pen and piece of paper write down and record that song that got you through a hard time? That is what your story is going to do for somebody else. And so once people started to give me that feedback, like people give that feedback to artists with songs, that was when I made the decision.
Love it. So awesome. So Alyssa, what are the final takeaways you really want our audience to get and to implement because of this interview, because they were here with us today? How can they really change the direction, change the course of their life because of this?
You have to be your own greatest advocate. You just need to move forward. So be your own greatest advocate. I don't care how many people have made fun of you for different diets you've tried and not gone through it. I don't care how many doctors have said, I don't know what else to do for you. Go someplace else. You're a hypochondriac. Whatever your struggle is that you're going through, there is a right solution for you. And sometimes it's just a matter of us talking and figuring out what that is for you. It's probably so much simpler than you think. And we get stuck in our own heads because we need a third party validator when we're dealing with our bodies, because we will just constantly be in this downward spiral of over analyzing, and we're in this analysis paralysis. So I need you to get out of that. I need you to book a free 20-minute consult so we can talk And there's no pressure either way. My goal is to just give you the right solution. So just have faith that no matter how many things you've tried, there is a solution out there for you, and we will absolutely find it. You have to start somewhere, and it's not going to be as big as you think.
Amen. So, Allyssa, this is just the tip of the iceberg for anyone who's listening or watching right now. You have so much more wisdom, knowledge, and experience to share about health and wellness and getting people onto that path. And they could take advantage of that like huge knowledge, immense amounts of knowledge by having a conversation with you, by continuing their journey with you. And who knows what you could like really just shine a spotlight on, and people could be, like living a completely different life in 30, 60, 90 days because they get a hold of you. So how can they stay connected with you? What can they do next? How can they schedule one of these calls?
Absolutely. So if you go to my website, biohackingbombshell.com, and I know sometimes that can be a mouthful for some people. So if you end up putting it in the show notes or in the comments or whatnot, people will be able to find the link there. But biohackingbombshell.com is my main website, and you'll see that you can schedule a call right from there. I have my live calendar linked to it, so you'll simply pick a day and time that works best for you. We'll schedule that in, and they can also find me on social media. You can either look up Biohacking Bombshell on Facebook or on Instagram. I am there. Or you can look up Allyssa LaScala on Facebook, and that is my personal page. Feel free to shoot me a direct message, and we can connect that way as well.
Awesome. And it's Allyssa with 2 L's, 2 S's, and LaScala is LaScala, right?
Yeah, you got ALLYSSA. No one ever spells it right, so I spell it out, double L, double S, LaScala. So yes, you will find me there, but probably the easiest way is to go to my website. My Facebook is linked there as well, so you'll be able to find me there.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here, Allyssa. Thank you for the love that you're sharing in the world. And I'm so excited for your journey. I'm so excited for that festival. I think I planted a seed, some kind of, health and wellness festival, a retreat thing that you're going to be creating in the future. But yeah, I appreciate you. Everyone who's listening, definitely stay connected with this woman. She is absolutely a bombshell, creating massive value in the world. And Allyssa, keep up the great work, okay?
Thanks so much for having me, Chris. I'll talk to you soon.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.